Hello everybody, hope you are doing well. Today we are in SoCal at the Palm Springs Airport, Papa Sierra Papa, to fly a bit of a more different IFR route. Today we will use the TEC routes, or the Tower Enroute Clearance routes. These routes are designed to connect busy terminal areas like the ones around LAX with the Enroute airways, and makes for a more easier and safer transition from the airport to the Enroute airspace. Unlike standard IFR routes that are customized based on flight plan and condition and such, TEC routes are predefined routes with a predefined altitude to help with the flow of traffic. They are also usually simpler and more direct routes than standard IFR routes, and typically uses Victor or VOR airways. You can of course fly them with the help of your GPS like we will today. You choose for yourself of course. Just be prepared to intervene if you are given a intercept heading to an airway instead of a direct to a waypoint on your GPS. There are different ways to find these routes. The most official one is to look in the chart supplement published by the FAA. But you can of course use other resources and websites that look them up for you. Just make sure you select the correct one for your aircraft type and other factors that has an impact on the TEC route validation, like for example if LAX is in east or west flow operations. And for us flight simmers that like to use Simbrief or other more automatic flight planners, just be aware that they don't always choose a TEC route for you. It might as well be just a regular IFR route based on other parameters than the published TEC routes. Today we will plan a flight from Palm Springs over to Burbank. We will plan the flight with a Diamond DA40, and that will also have an impact to what TEC route we will fly. Let's have a look at what TEC routes are available, and we start off with the chart supplements. First of all, you have to select the correct chart supplements for the area you wish to fly in. So today we choose the chart supplements for the Southwest US, which also covers California. I will put a link in the description below, but you can also of course just Google FAA and chart supplements, and that should bring you right to it. Then we scroll down to the TEC routes section and find our departure area, which is Palm Springs and the Palm Springs Airport, Papa Sierra Papa. And then we find our arrival airport, which is Burbank, Bravo Uniform Romeo. And as we can see, that gives us two different TEC routes. We see both Papa Sierra Papa Papa 1 or Palm Springs Papa 1, and then also Palm Springs Papa 2. So to find out what route is valid for us, we have to look all the way to the right under altitude and find the category aircraft that is right for us today. And since we will be flying the DA40, that falls under the Q category. And the different categories as shown here is also shown in the top section of the TEC route, if you ever wonder what aircraft you are flying. Okay, so then we see that we need to use the Palm Springs Papa 1 route from Airway Victor 388 to the Paradise VOR Papa Delta Zulu, and Airway Victor 186 to the Van Nuys VOR Victor November Yankee. And we can also see that the altitude for this route with this type of aircraft in the category Q is 10,000 feet. Should we be flying to LAX, for example, from Palm Springs, well then you can see that the TEC route differs if LAX is in a normal westbound operations, or if the winds have shifted so they are in eastbound operations. And that is depicted here, as you can see, with the LAXE for east. So then you also need to take this into consideration when you are selecting your TEC route. You could of course also do it the easy way and have a look at the website from FAA showing the National Flight Data Center Preferred Routes Lookup table, and we can see that the same routes are shown in the result from here. Okay, so that is our route plan, and now we will use this information to have a look at the rest of the flight plan so that we have our nav log, our fuel planning and estimated time and routes, etc. We could of course do this the manual way and inputting all this information into a form, looking at the wind aloft and calculating our heading based on the wind correction angles and so on, but we won't do that today. Instead, we will use this information from the TEC route and put it into Simbrief, and then have Simbrief generating a flight plan for us. Why not use it as long as this is available and it is also free, as I guess you know. We start with creating a new flight, putting in our departure and arrival airports, and then selecting our aircraft type. So today it's as discussed the Diamond DA40 from CAUS, and Simbrief will then generate an IFR route, but as I said earlier, be aware that Simbrief doesn't necessarily use the TEC route information when creating a flight plan. So as you can see here, the route it creates is a valid IFR route, but it's not a TEC route. But we can copy over the TEC route information so that Simbrief uses that instead. Just make sure to input a start point at the first airway, otherwise you will get an error message like this, that the airway uses an invalid endpoint. So we put in the Palm Springs VOR, Papa Sierra Papa, as the start of our airway, and then it is validated and correct. Then we can press the Find SID and Star button, and Simbrief will also input those. For the stars we won't use that, as those typically start way out, so we're gonna delete that. We then put in our altitude for this route, which was 10,000 feet in the altitude box, and we also put in the number of passengers and our cargo. Just be aware that ATC can still instruct us to depart on another procedure or even by vectors. We also have another look at the weather to determine if we require to file an alternate airport, and for that we use the 1-2-3 rule. So if the weather for 1 hour before and 1 hour after our expected arrival time has a cloud ceiling less than 2000 feet AGL, or the visibility is less than 3 statute miles, then we will need to file an alternate airport. Today the weather is good, but since Simbrief already has generated an alternate for us, we keep it in the flight plan. And that's it. So we press the generate flight, and Simbrief will generate our navlog, fuel calculations, and so on. The last thing I do is to have a look at the arrival procedures and choose one that is appropriate for our flight, both with regards to weather, aircraft capabilities, and of course also personal proficiency. So let's load the flight plan into Navigraph for a more visual representation and use that to select our approach. But of course feel free to use whatever you like. For example, SkyVector, it is free and it has all the charts, list the major US airports. Today I prepare for the ILS Zulu to runway 08 at Burbank, because that one has a feeder route from the Van Nuys VOR, and we will have to do the procedure turn at the waypoint Silex if we are not given vectors, of course, by ATC. The full briefing of the procedure I will do on the ground before we depart Palm Springs. Alright, so we'll prepare to request this approach from ATC, but as always we must be prepared for any changes to those plans.